when you do repeat processes that work. And before you start building out working by referral systems, you kind of have to test that couple things. Let's see what's working, what's not.
Yeah.
And also, if you don't have your heart in it, it's going to be very, very hard to force something. Just like me in cold calling and me in door knocking. Believe it or not, I did attempted to do that, but I hated my life. I'm like, this is so embarrassing. Did somebody just slam a door in my face? I'll never do this. And I much rather go deliver pies to strangers, which I did in 2014, and maybe make somebody's day or brighten somebody's child's smile, right?
Welcome to the Raquel Show. This show is for entrepreneurs who want to play bigger in business and in life. And today I have a very special guest who I feel like I've known for like a really long time, but I've never actually met her. And next week, hopefully, I'll be able to meet her in San Diego, but I've met her through probably social media. And I feel like I've already connected with her. She's a powerhouse in Colorado Springs. And I'm excited to have this conversation as she has been known to be dialed in a referral, client appreciation, business, parties, and she does events. So welcome to the show, Lana Rodriguez.
Raquel, wow, what an introduction. I just love it. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a blast, and hopefully we get to see each other just in a few days. Fun fact, you and I, we've been in the same room at last one reel at the Sharon's morning mastermind.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I wish we had connected back then, but I saw you, I was like, she looks cool.
I totally would have hung out with you, right? And when Sharon basically endorses other people as good people, you're like, okay, that's one person I need to get to know.
And Sharon gave me a plug for client appreciation systems or something. I was like, yes, this is my lucky day. Before he was announced as president, you know?
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your business. Is it all referral business? How did you start? Or because you've been at this for a long time, did it just automatically shift to that? Walk us through that journey.
Yeah, a long time is approximately since end of 2014. And no, I did not have a dream or aspiration to become a real estate professional. It all happened by a certain chain of events. Brian and I, my husband and I, we relocated to Colorado Springs, Colorado. Him being active duty military officer, it was our new duty station. And see, I was one of those people who I really wanted to get pregnant before I was age of 30. It was one of my big goals. And he didn't. He was like, not about that life. And our marriage consists of a lot of compromises and a lot of like, well, what if, how we're going to make it work? And he's like, well, you're going to go back to work. And before real estate, my career was retail management. And that's how even I met my husband, Brian, at the Michael Kors store at 4:00 in the morning on Black Friday. And he's like, well, why don't you become a realtor? And I said, oh, Brian, it just seems unreal. I don't know about schooling. And back then we were buying our third property together. And every single professional who was like a real estate agent, I'm not saying they kind of sucked, but they were really, really mediocre. There was no above and beyond. Our last guy who we bought a house here in Colorado Springs, he even didn't show up to closing. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's how they do it. And Brian had a faith in me before I had a faith in myself. And he's like, I think you can totally do this. And I'm like, technically I could, because I was in customer service since I was like 14, back in Latvia, working like in little hair places, sweeping old people's hair and things like that. But it was just, there was a scare of getting into the industry, getting licensed. And I was like, it's only 1 month and a half. And Brian was he was my drill sergeant. He's like, no, you're going to pass it. And honestly, Raquel, just between you and I and our audience, all I wanted to do is to get off the pill and like be a mom. And in Colorado Springs market, back then we had about 4,000 agents. And I interviewed with small little mom and pop shops where to hang my license. And I was like, I'm not feeling it because I'm all about the brand. And back then, the big brand was Remax. We had a corporate office right downtown Denver. And I was like, okay, I think I can wrap the balloon. And I've been with Remax for the first 5 years. And then we moved to Keller for 3 years, looking for better opportunity. And of course, now I'm part of Real Broker. But let me tell you let me just actually answer your question. How did the working by referral started? I will never forget my first Remax sales rally. And by sales rallies, it's like these fancy meetings where they feed you breakfast and where they show all the top producer numbers. So everyone who like did decent sales for the month. And I was sitting there as a brand new agent and I asked somebody, I was like, what is this? Like they had like 20K, 30K, 40K, 50K clubs a month. I was like, I just don't understand what it means. And they're like, this is their gross income. And I'm like, a month? So I was a big aha. And I texted my husband. I was like, you set me up for failure. I'm never going to fucking make this. Because I was like, it was so insane to me because my biggest salary as a retail manager was $55,000 a year at Michael Kors. And now I'm seeing people making that a month. I was mind blown. And I really, for a long time, had a limiting belief that I'm not going to make it. Because remember, when you're surrounded by top producers, you're like this little bitty fish. I was very young. I was still in my mid-20s. It was very intimidating as fuck. And on the wall at our Remax training center, they had a big poster of Brian Buffini. And I'm like, who's this guy? They're like, oh, it's Brian Buffini. He's a Coles Notes and Pop By guy. And I was like, okay, interesting. And very early on, I got into his systems. And he's known for Coles Notes and Pop Buys. And then there's also plug for client appreciation events. I attended some of his trainings, went to some of his conferences, and I was like, I think I can do this. It speaks to me. One thing that I do not make phone calls. It's just not my selling style. And I'm good with that. And look, I was blessed enough to generate very, very great business opportunities and great business model without pounding the phone. But that's, to answer your question, that's where I got the referral, working by referral model.
All of your business is working by referral. Majority.
Yes. Okay. Now, backtrack 8-9 years. Now we have different niches.
Okay.
Past client and sphere is number one. It's our bread and butter. That's where majority of our leads come from. Number two would be my agent-to-agent relationships. I have been very, very blessed to put myself out there, hopefully in a good spotlight, and just build the relationships with amazing professionals like yourself, who just chose me to have on your amazing show, and real estate professionals near and far, and claim myself as a real estate professional in Colorado Springs for the future referral opportunities. And then we also have, since my husband is former military, we have a military niche that he has built out to for where the void was with the military community. So he kind of adopted that.
So working a by referral business takes a very systematic approach. What would you say are some best practices when it comes to building a referral business?
Yeah, 100%. Systems. So systems is when you do what systems, right? Let's break it down versus like doing something. So for me, it was very, very organically. And I'm also a nurturer at heart. As you know, we have a very common friend, Jen Codmore out of Australia. And she has been my kind of mentor and coach for last 4 years. And we do this like training of brand archetypes. And I was a nurturer because I was like, I want everybody to be included. I want to serve everybody. Luckily, I graduated out of that into a romantic, which is just still the nurture, but you just kind of like better your systems and processes. Yeah. So you have to test it out what works or not. Okay, because if you're going to be miserable delivering Popeyes or pies, or you will feel silly hosting a Santa party, don't do that. Save yourself some time. Maybe you're better at cold calling. Okay, and that just comes with knowing your personality style, knowing your selling style. And then I do have a couple of tricks up my sleeve when it comes to that. You cannot do it alone. And yes, for our sole producers who are, running and gunning, I have so much respect for you guys. But when you want to scale systems, that includes multiple people showing up to whatever you host, you need to have a support system. For the longest time, my support system was my husband, Brian, who was an active duty guy. And we had a newborn at home. And look, before I even started a team, I did not know, like, you can maybe hire somebody part-time. My brain was not even thinking that because I even didn't have a transaction coordinator. So Brian was the one who was part of my client appreciation system. He would drive me, he would be there. And then when I started a team, I plugged in actually 3 licensed agents. And I was like, well, this is what we're going to do, gals. But it's important for you to leverage people to help you that. Because the number one thing, what's our number one goal? You and I were lead generators. We're brand makers. So if you're going to start doing minimum wage activities, you're going to take your focus from elsewhere. Did that answer your question, Raquel?
Yeah. So what would you say out of all your systems gives you the most referrals in your business today?
And I do want to share with our audience, like some of the things that we're doing, some of those helpful tools, but 2 things. I'm going to share 2 things with your permission. Number one, we have a private client Facebook group, and it's not aha, but it's aha for a lot of agents who they're like, what? You'll be surprised how many people don't even think that way. If you are growing the agent community, maybe it's a good practice to do a Facebook group for your agent community, right? But keep in mind, you can also nurture your clients and past future relationships within that group. And why is it so effective? Because it's a free tool that Facebook provides you. And you create this little hub where you are in charge, or some of your people are in charge, that you allocated to, and any communication that you want to go there, they're going to see it. They're going to see it right away. And that's where we do the initial client event invites. That's where we do the polls, drawings, winning, all kind of things. And this just keeps our people engaged. Because yes, we have to do our email lists and we have to do CRM tracking and all this, but you cannot just bombard your client community with a lot of emails. They're just gonna like, okay, opt out. But when you're constantly showing up and presenting yourself with a value prop, Facebook group has been the amazing successful tool. And sometimes if like, because look, our social media is busy, yours is busy, mine is busy. If I get on Instagram, there is a bunch of content. You get on TikTok, you're even lost in content. Facebook is the same thing. But if you want to like keep it, have a very nice organizing tracking sheet, you go into your client Facebook group and you kind of see, okay, I have not talked to this person. Let me just check it. It's right in front of you, right in front of you. It's a very strategic communication tool. So that's number one. For number two, client events. And if somebody heard me speak about it before, yes, I'm gonna sound like a broken record because this stuff works. And look, it hasn't come easy. It was not like this big aha. Yeah, now I'm gonna host client events. No, I have done my share of handwritten notes. Okay, that's another tool you can keep in touch. And we have delivered so many different pop buys. But see, this is what happened in my life. I had a first kid in 2015, and then I had my second kid in 2018. And I have been a working mom, and my time has been very, very split, to the point where I did give up breastfeeding on both pregnancies just to go back into workplace. It was my personal choice. Don't judge me, moms, but that's what I decided to do to keep providing for my family. But then when I'm on the streets selling homes, not doing anything else, but when I'm on the streets, my kids are being raised by my mom, which is thank God. And I'm like, shit, like I need to do something better with my time. And that's when we started adopting more and more client events, because it's so much better and such more quality time within, like, let's say 4 or 5 hour period. When they come to you, you still get to meet and greet them. They get to have a great time. And then we go all our own way, versus me delivering pop buys for 3 days in a row to like 100 or 200 clients. And that's it. The weekend is gone. And now I'm back to work again. And also going back to knowing your client's avatar. Our avatar who buys and sells with us most of the time, it's probably dual income couple. Mostly one of them is in the military, and they probably have one child or two. So one thing that works really well for us is to do client events around the kids. Or Raquel, if I may just share, also, like, we don't call our like client database, because no one wants to be part of the database. People want to be part of the community. That's why whatever you're building, you're so successful. And I'm semi-successful too, because any new lead or any new opportunity, any new referral who comes to us, I was like, hey, this is what's going to happen. I set expectations up front. You will be part of our client community. And they're like, well, what does it mean? I was like, we provide quite a bit of value, send out monthly newsletters. We have a client concierge, and you will be seeing us anywhere from 5 to 8 times a year. Optional, you don't have to come if you don't want to, but most of the people are going to show up anyway. And we would tell right up front, we're the real estate team that does not go away after the transaction.
Oh, I love that, Lana. There's like so many gold and so many nuggets in that. First of all, I think to do a client event takes a lot of work, but I do agree with you that it's one opportunity where you can get everybody and you could really maximize time versus doing pop buys for 3 days for sure.
Yeah.
So where do you
100%.
see agents make mistakes when it comes to building a referral business?
Mistakes. Thinking that it's going to be easy and thinking that it's going to be fast. Look, there's nothing fast in the real estate industry that's going to work. Because it's like, hey, buy Zillow, it's going to work. No, Zillow may work only if you pay to play and if you have great conversion systems. I paid for Zillow only one time in my career for 6 months, and it sucked for me. Because remember, I don't convert over the phone. That's not who I am. So it was kind of a little bit of a waste of money. Agents could think, okay, no one owes you shit. Let's just put it that way. So if you think you have amazing following on social media, and if you're a community leader, if you think people are like expected to refer you, absolutely not. You need to earn their trust. And how do you earn their trust? You pick curiosity, number one. Number two, you show up authentically as a servant leader, not only for yourself, for your real estate circle, but also for the community. And don't be a secret agent. You need to show who you are, what you do. And it's not going to happen overnight. Not like you're going to get your real estate license, you're going to announce it to everybody and expect, oh yeah, business is going to come. No. Look, it took me like years to build what we have right now.
Yeah.
And the first year was hard. I was crying almost every day, truly crying, because I was very hormonal and postpartum, but it was hard. Second year was just a little bit easier. And second year, I did 119 transactions as a solo agent.
Congrats.
Because of luck. Once again, I gave up motherhood and I was running and gunning. God was good and the business was coming. But please just know it's a long-term game. It's a commitment. And it's also when you genuinely serve and when you genuinely build that reputation, it's okay to ask for business too. I kind of started and then I kind of stopped because I'm like, oh, I'm just doing so many good deeds. Business comes to me, which it does, but not in a shifted year. In a shifted year, things are different. Yeah. And actually, one of my Buffini coaches, she said this: it's okay to ask for business. And my entire team were like, oh, we hate asking for anything because it's uncomfortable. But when do you ask for business? You ask for business when your client is within the most amount of gratitude. Maybe at a client event when you're giving out pies and you're having a great time, just ask, hey, is there anyone I should be talking to? Is there anyone in your circle who would like to maybe check on the market? Because if you don't ask, it's not going to trigger their brain to reply. Or if in the middle of the transaction, if somebody's happy with your services, hopefully they are, you kind of plug in, hey, are you happy? Thank you. Is there anyone I can maybe help next? Who's in your proximity? Because I don't know what that terminology it's called, but not like when you're pregnant, you start seeing pregnant people, or if you drive Jeep, you start seeing Jeep people. If somebody's buying and selling, they kind of like start aligning with our real estate people, whatever's happening in their world. So you just need to plug yourself in.
Yeah, it's your reticular activator, right? Where you see, if you buy a car, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. When you're pregnant, you see all these pregnant people. So I love that, Lana. How important do you feel networking and relationship building is when it comes to the referral network that you've built?
Oh my God.
You kind of said this earlier.
Most important thing. Yeah. Relationship building is everything. Even if you're a real estate professional or if somebody else is outside of the industry is listening, look, if you cannot build relationships, you're not going to last. Why? You will be outperformed by the agents like you and I, who actually are masters at building relationship. Okay. And why building relationships is important? Connection is power. They say proximity is key. I'm talking to Tanya Robbins quotes or whoever said that, but it's true. It's true. And how do you build relationships? You cannot build it with anybody. You cannot attempt, but you have to find your people. Okay. And people who will respect you for who you are, like admire you and want to be within proximity of you. And like, honestly, and I'm probably I'm not saying I'm a master in building relationships, but I am pretty good on.
From what I hear, you are. Come from several people.
You're very kind. And so are you. I think you and I are still like both very, very, very well respected in our own spaces. And now we are aligning together, which is awesome. But you kind of have to like, okay, like this is how I see it. And maybe somebody out of the audience will hear this and they will resonate. Okay, am I the smartest cookie in a jar? No. Am I the best operational person? No. Okay. Am I the most good looking one? Well, I try to do with like all the Botox I'm doing, but probably not too. Am I the most funny one? I'm a little bit funny. Okay. Am I the most genuine person you're ever going to meet? Maybe. Am I the most passionate about client community and building? Yes. So within the last few years, I got very, very confident in what I'm really good at. And that's just me. Okay. And there's a lot of real estate professionals who come my way. And just like a lot of clients, most of the clients like me. Okay. Like me. They really love me. Some of them love me, but most of the clients have respect for me and like me. Just the same for industry leaders. Now there's some real estate professionals and some clients who I will never be the friends with, like a best bud. And I'm okay with that. But just being maybe a little bit extra nice or sliding in somebody's DMs and making somebody's day came very, very long way for me. Can I share a personal story with you?
Of course.
Okay. Broke agent. We all know broke agent, right? Mm-hmm. And now broke agent with BAM, they're blowing up. And I've been following that account for years. And I'm like, I'm wondering who's behind that agent. It was actually agents and broke agents. I was just sitting one day, I was like, I don't even know who's like, do the bots operate those? So I Googled it. It was Eric Simon for a broke agent. And there was Luca, I don't remember his last name, for actual agents. So I was like, let me just slide into their DMs and ask for their mailing address. like random. I was like, okay, Eric, big fan of your content. May I get a good mailing address for you? Well, they both replied, sure, here. Like they're probably like some super fan. And I sent them both a nice gift. And what did I get back in return? I got a follow back from both accounts. Okay, so now both accounts are actively engaged with who I am and what I stand for. And now, finally, this year, I was invited to be on BAM podcast and BAM Network. I think they have over 400,000 followers. So I immediately got that exposure. Number one, what did I do? Did I try to schmooze them or wow them with something like crazy? No, because I don't have that to offer. But what I have to offer is my genuine care. Gift happens to my love language. And that's how I build these relationships in the industry throughout the years, by small little tactics like this.
So your love language is gifts, and you do client appreciation parties, right? And we kind of talked about this. What makes your client appreciation parties so different from everybody else? Or is it really in the relationship? Because I've heard about your client appreciation parties.
This is a great question. This is a tricky one. Let me see what I'm going to say. Well, first of all, everybody else are not doing those. I was actually one of the first agents, and Colorado Springs agents, if you're listening, that's the truth. I was one of the first agents in Colorado Springs who take client appreciation events on a really big scale. We don't open up to public. It's just not worth it, because I'm still a firm believer marketing myself and our team to people who know, like, and trust us is just the easier conversion rate. But if my clients want to, like, okay, we don't like Lana, so we're going to go to another realtor who has better parties. There's no one else better doing that, right? There's just not. Just like Raquel, you have an amazing real estate conference, and like your people, like they're just wowed with the experience. I was watching it from far. I saw Danielle Dixon on the stage and a couple other friends. I was like, wow, this is a really good production. And it's not like your people are going to leave because there's better events. No, they're there for you, and they're there for the experience. Same thing for our clients. And look, I'm an open book. This is, you see what you get. And I share even in my local market. I'm like, you want to know what I do? I'm going to tell you. And I told multiple people, no one's just implementing it. I don't know for whatever reason. Maybe they're scared. Maybe there's not enough budget. But I'm like, oh, everyone should be doing client events or some kind of client appreciation touches. But none of them, like a lot of them, are not just doing that.
So if you had to start all over, right? Or there was an agent that's listening in the audience right now, listening to this podcast, what are 3 things that you would have them do immediately?
Okay. Number one, and let's say we're going to talk to a newer agent who maybe just licensed for a year or just getting into the business, or is it like really, really scared and hurting right now? Because I think there's a lot of just out there. Number one, you need to regroup and reorganize your sphere. Okay. If you don't have a client database, if you have not sold much real estate, it's okay. It's all right. And you can use Chime as a CRM, follow a boss, because remember, what CRM works, the one that you really use. And then for longest time, I had Facebook as my CRM, and then Excel, Google Sheet, or whatever, right? So as long as you start organizing your people, okay, just put a list of all the people. The names first, then you do the phone numbers, then you do the email, then you do the addresses. And then you organize them into A, B, C, and D. You and I know what it means, but for some of you who don't, A is your A+ people. People in your sphere who probably love you and support you and tag your name anywhere when you're not in a room. B's are, a lot of our past clients are B's, and they know, like, and trust you, but are they raving fans? No, not yet. Then there is C's. It's a lot of your sphere, a lot of your Facebook friends who you don't talk on a regular basis, a lot of your Instagram followers, and you need to still work on converting them into B's, where eventually, hopefully, they become an A. And the way you communicate to your C's, it's not how you communicate to your A's. If I have a lot of A's living in the area, I can pop by their house with a cup of coffee and be like, hey, I just been in the area, think of you, here, coffee on me. They're like, Lana, this is awesome. If I'm going to research and find out addresses for my C people, and I'm going to show up on the doorstep, not only are they going to be freaked out, they'll be like, how does she, like, I think you're Lana Rodriguez. How do you even know my address? I'm going to kill that relationship right away. And then, of course, there's D's, and D stands for delete. This is maybe your neighbor, Jenny, who has been an amazing sport. Now her husband is licensed. Jenny no longer is going to refer you. Okay, so you better cut that relationship right away. Of course, don't be a dick about it, but just like no longer waste your time and financial assets to support Jenny and her husband, because the business referrals are gone. So number one, I suggest doing that. Like, organize your stuff, because if you don't know what you have and how you're supposed to be communicating with, like, you are missing out on this great momentum. And when you do that, work on your communication strategy. I'm not telling you that doing client events is what you need to do. It's somebody, maybe our friend David Matthews, he's our managing Colorado broker. He's going to be teaching class on how to gather everybody's email lists. I'm going to get on that class because my email list is a big hot mess. So maybe you are more going to be communicating with your clients via these strategic emails. So just like Mr. Shravan Srivatsa says, like the money is in the emails and in the follow-up. Maybe you're going to be conducting lots of video communication, but please communicate to your people, because if you're not going to communicate, somebody else will. Okay. Right now it's a dog world, and the winter is coming. And even though we think, well, my clients, they love me, or my people, they love me, they know I'm an agent. No, they don't. I mean, they do, but they don't. Okay. Yeah. Because there's out there, somebody's going to be more aggressive, trying to earn their business, farming their area, door knocking their door. So as long as you stay omnipresent, I think you should have very little things to worry about. I think that's like 1 and 2, organize your database, communicate, and then kind of spread yourself on all 3 different platforms. And this is a new one to me. I never thought I would have to do it because I am on 3 different platforms. I have following on TikTok that kind of posting there. Facebook has been really good to me. And then right now I'm trying to grow Instagram because that's what we need to do. But guess what happened? A few days ago, I was put in a Facebook jail. I'm like, what, me? Out of all the people? Guess what? Guess for what? I was put in a Facebook jail for something I posted in 2020. That post got tagged. It was removed. Cannot even see it. So they put me on like a ban for 72 hours. I was only being in the viewers mode, and I couldn't contact anybody. I couldn't function. And it sucked. I was like, I hate this feeling. But it just shows you that it may be out of your control if something happens to one of your social media platforms. But if it does, please have maybe equivalent amount of audience on the other social platform that you can move immediately. And once again, build that email list, because that's going to pay on the long run.
Yeah. 100%. You cannot rely on rented platforms because they have full control if they shut you down on Facebook or on Instagram, and then you're SOL. So having that email list is key. How do you do it all? Lana, you are a powerhouse. You run a team, you do events, you're a mama, a wife. How do you manage to do it all? And look amazing.
You are so kind. Are we becoming best friends? I'm feeling best friend vibe right now.
Yes.
Well, I operate on a lot of anxiety. Just kidding. I do have a high functioning anxiety, and I operate on a high stress, high intensity things. And then I crash. I was like, let's go. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. But I'm blessed by being surrounded by very great people. Last year, when we moved to Real Broker, my organization was bigger than today. And with a shifted year and with some changes within the team, we're downsized, and I'm not mad about it. Right now, team is full blown, great producers, no drama, thank God. I have my husband as my business partner. Now that's a different Zoom. Maybe you'll have me come back again and we can talk about a couple dynamics.
For sure.
He's pulling a lot of load when I can't. And we have both different superpowers. He kind of oversees commercial real estate, where I'm a resi person. I sell residential, and I'm involved in more of a team management. We have very great bunch of agents. We have Brian and I, and then 6 agents, kind of junior agents and then senior agents. So junior agents are just younger and newer crowd. And then we have 3 very, very solid, strong agents who are pulling a lot of sales right now. I have my amazing assistant, Tanya. Oh my God, she's a gem. And if you're listening, if you're a brand new realtor, if you're a sole producer who's running loud and proud, good for you. But 2 things you need to be having in your arsenal. Number 1, transaction coordinator. If you were to seeing your own files, I'm going to find you and I'm going to give you a spanking. Like no one in their mind should be to seeing their own files, because what you're trying to save $300 to $500 for what? Like, no, there's people much more qualified than you are destined to do that. Our transaction coordinator, Cheryl, is great. We go on to contract. She's a machine. She gets me to closing. I don't even open my email. Just kidding. Of course I do, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And my assistant, Tanya, because look, Raquel, I'm sure you are a visionary too, because that's how we operate. I'm a visionary. I have ideas like written everywhere. I'm like, idea. But none of this can happen because I'm not an executor. But if right now, Tanya has been with us for almost a year. Prior to that, I have another assistant, what I call my right hand. She used to be also client care manager for our team. And then she was my right hand. So by my right hand, this helps me with the personal tasks and also childcare help when needed. Well, we parted ways with that particular woman And I was doing a little bit of manifesting and soul searching because it's hard to find like all in one. And for me, child aspect is very important.
Yeah.
Because I have 2 kids, and yes, my mom is there and they're in school. But when shit happens, I was like, hey, can you please help me with my children? Because my children is part of my work equation too. And I manifested Tanya, and I'm telling you, she's such a gem. Former teacher, by the way. If you
Ooh.
ever need to hire, like go to teachers. They're underpaid and they're so talented, and they're just the right disc personalities for us. Some of our high D's, high I's. Oh, it's such a great mix, and I love her. I'll do whatever it takes to keep her. So she's helping me with personal work, and she's helping me to execute all the client and real estate events that we host. And then for the childcare, I made a commitment going into the real estate industry. Within the first year, I made a commitment to myself that I'm not going to fail. And I just realized, look, if I can provide all these opportunities for me and my family, I'm going to work my ass off, which I did. And I'm sure, Raquel, you're an immigrant. Are you immigrant too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So us immigrants, we see it differently. We have maybe a little bit more appreciation for the opportunities that America gives us. But then I also made a commitment that I'm probably going to spend a little bit less time with my kids the first few years of their life. Brought my mom here, immigrated my dad later 1 year, and they're my dependents. I support them fully. I brought them a small little house not too far from us, and I designed that. So when I go to work, now my kids are in school, but before I would go to work, I would drop them off with my parents, and I would come back and pick them up at night. So yeah.
We definitely share that in common, for sure. I think it's just natural when you're an immigrant that you buy a house for your parents, right? And they're a large part of your kids' lives. Okay, you got a lot of things that you're working on. What are you most excited about in the future, Lana?
Well, I'm excited about getting out of this shifted year because I mean, like this year sucks. This year sucks. Our team's production is not nearly what it needs to be. Okay, and I'm just talking to a lot of industry friends, and they are slowing down too. So it's not like only me, not like we're doing anything wrong. Right. So I'm excited for all of us to get out of this shifted year because I hate seeing our industry professionals scared, not thriving. I think we all, most of us who work hard and being kind, I try to talk real broker language, but I think we deserve for market to go back up so we can actually go back and serving our community at our best capacity. But I'm also excited to build my real network. I remember when I talked, so Brad McCallum is the one who brought me into Real. And I remember when we first spoke, I told him, I was like, I'm not going to be recruiting. Like, I'm not. She was just standing there like laughing. He's like, oh, Lana. Yeah. Little did we know that I do have an organization of amazing 160 professionals right now all across US. And it was never a goal. It was never a goal or a dream. It just came naturally. But I think this is awesome. And I'm just probably going to focus on that a little more years to come. Of course, when I get more organized and make sure the team is running up and operating properly and our client systems are still going to be in place. So kind of excited about that because like you and I, we have such a big, blessed opportunity to be at Real now, surrounded by leaders like Tamir and Sharon and Team Macy and Pritesh, who are on such a like ground level with us agents, where you and I can come in and bring our superpowers and actually make difference within the company and within our industry.
For sure. And as we wrap up, there's always one question that I ask every single guest on the show is, what does Lana do to play bigger in business or in life?
Lana, what does Lana do? Well, first of all, Lana follows amazing professionals like yourself. I'm like a secret supporter and fan from the far. I admire that. Yeah. Now what Lana needs to be doing, Lana needs to go on manifestation walks and ground herself. It just sometimes somehow I run out of time. But I like watching everybody and I like picking little things from one person to myself, apply. I like to eat tasty foods. I don't know if I'm answering your answer, but I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie at heart. Not much alcohol or other things, but I enjoy great company. I love to laugh and I love female empowerment. I think specifically more and more females need to come together and align because look, if you don't win, I don't win either.
Oh my gosh, you dropped so many gold, so many nuggets on our podcast today. I want to say thank you, my friend, for being on our show. I appreciate you. And I am so excited to meet you finally next week. And I cannot wait to keep supporting you and keep playing bigger with you, my friend.
Raquel, thank you. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
You're amazing.